Okay, everybody, welcome back. We hope you have continued to have a prosperous summer. This is a new edition of the Fanatical Biased. We're minus one of our hosts today. Shout out to Casey, who is doing summer things with her son Grayson and going to see family. So we wish her well. Um, Although these are the dog days of summer, we have some fun things with the Olympics going on, and which has been entertaining to say the least. And now it's here. Football is back.
Back,
He's
baby.
repping the
Back.
Bears uniform, even though his fandom, he has his reservations. We'll get to that in the upcoming weeks, people. We'll get to Demetrius's reservations with the Bears. I'm repping the college, got the block in from Michigan. We heard some information. Again, we're going to cover that, because they're trying to steal the season before it begins. But I digress. Now we're going to talk about a fan moment. D, we'll start with you, and I think we can agree, but I'm not even gonna say, give us your fan moment.
Well, man, look, I think our fan moment is going to be the same. We have to talk about this man's USA basketball, man. Yeah, look, man. I don't know about you, but I was a little nervous. Serbia looked strong, and shout out to Bohan. What is it? Is it Bojan or
Bogdanovic.
Bohan
Oh, I know
Bogdanovic?
his name now.
Dude, he was lighting them up. And he
And
was
then
talking crap and
throwing
at
the
Melo and throwing the
right,
three to the head at Melo. I was like, oh, he's stunting. He's
right.
stunting. But then the greatest shooter of all time,
Oh, bro.
Steph Curry. Thank you, Steph Curry. Thank you
Yeah.
for putting the team on your back. And I mean, I know you didn't do it by yourself, but you shouldered that team, and you're the reason we're playing in this gold medal game today. So I'm excited, man. I never thought that US had a chance to even win anything but gold, but Serbia they got me nervous. And I'm gonna shout out my GOAT too, of course,
Oh,
LeBron James. I mean, not for what he did on the scoring end, but the assisting end, and then at 39 years old, when it comes down to it, LeBron James is sticking Nikola Jokic. I mean, what more can we ask for? You know
bro,
what I mean? That
bro.
Steve Kerr, I thought you were crazy. You gonna put a 39-year-old on that freaking bulldog? But I tell you what, he did what needed to be done. Shout out to the King, King James.
All right.
Go ahead, L.
I'm with you. It was the Olympic game. I'm at work. Something told me keep tabs on this game. Serbia is going to be a problem. Now, anybody who knows me knows how I feel about Nikola Jokic. Um, he's uh, arguably many people's greatest player in the league, in the world. I think Joel Embiid is more talented. We can get to that another time. But I was just like, we'd beaten him handily in the last 2 months twice, and I'm like, keep ties. And so, I'm looking at the game. We're down by 8 the first quarter, and I put up on Facebook, oh, I see we didn't come to play today. Then I see we're down 15. Now I'm getting concerned. I think we're down 11 at halftime, and I'm sitting there like, okay, we still are in striking distance. We get it down to 6 in the third. I'm like, oh, we rolling.
Yep, yep.
Work issues come up. I'm thinking we come back. Oh, it's going to be close. We're going to lead. We down 15. I, in my emotion of frustration, put, well, I guess we'll be settling for bronze. Because I'm sitting there like, we're down to these guys, and all I could hear about, this, was Borko
Yep.
and Stoyan. Two
Talking
people
about Jokic.
one from Montenegro, one from Serbia. All I could hear was them in my head. I told you he was the GOAT. I told you he was the GOAT. Shout out to Borko and Stoyan.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. And I'm sitting there just like, and then people start putting on my Facebook page, there's still time. Now My cousins, Dwight Jones and Rob Watson, of course, they don't respond until the game is over. But I'm looking, we start coming back, and I'm about to get fired now because I'm fired. By this time, I'm like, whatever. I gotta see this through. Steph Curry. Shout out to Embiid in the fourth quarter for doing what had to be done.
Yeah.
Setting screens, hitting timely shots.
Blocks.
And then I got to give a shout out to your GOAT, LeBron, only player in Olympic history to have multiple triple doubles, I think.
Yeah.
I think something like that. And then I got to give a shout out to KD, who was horrible for 3.5 quarters. But when he had to make shots, he did.
And he wasn't very good, but I'm interjecting because he ain't able to catch a rhythm. And Steve Young, I mean, he only got one more game to figure that out, but KD's lack of minutes, I think, is what's going on, contributing to why he starts off so slow. But like you said, I mean, shout out to hitting those big shots, that dagger, pull up mid range. So yeah, I mean, now from what I heard, he's putting him in the starting lineup for the gold medal game.
He's got to. Yeah. France is too big. You can't have Booker at that forward spot.
Right. So, I mean, kudos to KD. He ain't complaining about his lack of minutes. He ain't complaining about coming off the bench. And he's still coming in the game and doing what needs to be done.
Also, want to ask your opinion. What is your opinion of Steve Kerr in the rotation? He's been getting a lot of flack. He's benched Embiid. Halliburton hasn't seen the floor in a minute.
What, 2-3 games almost?
Yeah. Jason Tatum, was he do not play again against Serbia?
Yeah.
What is your opinion of that?
So I seen the slack he been getting, and people are saying he's a horrible coach and stuff like that. And I kind of have seen his responses as well. And what we got to remember is, in the FIBA play, it's 40 minutes. So it's 10-minute quarters, so it's a little bit less minutes. And you got a team full of all-stars. Everybody on that team is an all-star. So I just think it's hard to get everybody minutes. You know what I mean? Again, how do you, if your starting five is playing bad, then maybe you have a whole nother five that you go with. I'm not sure, but if you don't and you're just rotating a guy or two in here and there, I guess it's a hard balance. It just doesn't seem like it's enough minutes on the clock to get every one of those all-stars minutes and then get them in the game to get a rhythm.
Right.
Because it's like, okay, I know my guys are playing bad, but these are my horses and I got to keep them in to get rhythm. So I'm not upset with Tatum not playing. I know Boston Celtics fans are going nuts. I know Tatum's mom had a comment about it. And I hate to see him not playing, but they're winning. And I think Tatum has many more years to play in the Olympics where we might not see Steph and LeBron and KD in 2028.
Oh, I don't think you are. Yeah.
So Tatum is going to have his chance to lead Team USA eventually. But look, right now, how can we complain when they haven't lost?
Yeah.
So.
Kerr said something when he first had Tatum on the do not play. He said, I'm coaching and players are coming for needs. I think one of the things when you have a team of all-stars is understanding where you fit in and what the need is, even if it goes against what your role traditionally is.
Yeah.
You've seen Booker diving for loose balls, committing to the defensive end.
Right.
This is, you don't see that from Booker a lot, but he's embraced that role. Tatum is unbelievable talent, but I'm also going to say this. I got to say it. Something's not, even in the finals and in the playoffs, he just hasn't looked at peace. Like when was the last time you saw Tatum? Think about this. And maybe I'm missing it. Play a great game from start to finish. We've seen him play great in spurts.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen him doing multiple things well from start to finish in a long time.
Yeah. I'm
That's
gonna
one of
say
the
probably
reasons why Jaylen Brown, even though Tatum had better stats, like in terms of scoring, in terms of assists, is you just saw Brown played a more consistent game throughout, where Tatum had spurts where he'd do stuff. So I think embracing your role, and also like you're a scorer. Well, you got KD, the all-time leading scorer.
Yep.
You've got LeBron James, who's right behind him, and Carmelo in that area. And then you've got Steph Curry, the great. They don't need that. Now, they might need it tonight,
right,
or this afternoon, because France is big. We got to play big.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
AD
they
and
might need
Embiid
that
should be getting a
perimeter.
lot of minutes.
Huh?
I think Davis and Embiid gonna get quite a bit of minutes.
Right. You are gonna need that tonight. So he might get his chance. And my question is, and this is gonna be key, are you gonna pout and be like, oh, so you need me now? Or are you gonna be like, I'll always play like I'm ready?
Yeah.
And are you gonna say to Steve, I could have been doing this earlier when you get your gold medal?
Right.
Right.
And
that's what I want. Are you what's it going? Are you gonna pout, or are you gonna come out and be like, I've been ready? Watch this. Watch me bust there. You know what?
And I mean, and you can do both. That's just, we're gonna see the type of level of professionalism, like you said, with that, because you can quote unquote pout, but you could do it quietly. You can be, upset. He should be upset because I know he feels like he can help the team, but like you said, when your number is called, then you got to come in ready. You got to come in
there, and then I'm gonna look at Kerr while I get my medal. You should have put me in earlier.
Yeah, I mean, and even like
regular season, when I see you in the regular season,
40, it's
40,
on. Right,
40 both games, 40, and I'm gonna be looking at you the whole time, 40.
Right.
While I put 4-0, and then my ring finger. I'm gonna leave my ring on while I'm busting you with 40.
I'm gonna leave it all.
I'm gonna leave my championship ring on when I'm busting you. That's what I want to see from him today.
Yeah, like you said with Tatum, man, it's almost I want to say it wasn't even this last season, but the season previous to that we seen like, man, Jason Tatum is like on the rise, like he's almost arrived, if that makes sense. And like you said, it was a lot of ups and downs for him this season, and even in the playoffs. And I don't know if it was the pressure of, man, like we really have to win a championship, or the pressure of them still trying to figure out, which it shouldn't be because they've been together so long, but them still trying to figure out, how do I play alongside Jaylen, because we ain't been able to get it done. Who's gonna play the Batman / Robin role, or can we be equals? You know what I mean? So I don't know if like Tatum just couldn't find that, whereas Brown is like, look, I'm gonna relish the moment regardless. We gotta win.
Right.
So, and he should be on the Olympic team, by the way. But we don't even have to. And I think I know why he isn't. But I'm not gonna touch
Grant Hill and them, and
I think it's the same reason Kyrie.
You know why?
Yeah. So I think he's on that board with Kyrie. But Tatum, man, look, you wearing number 10 for a reason, dude. Everybody know why you wearing it. So like I said, if your number gets called tonight and you got to hit some big shots, man, just be ready to do it.
I think perimeter length is going to be key tonight.
Yeah.
Because I think from a spacing standpoint, I think that the opportunity is going to be there to drive. But I also think the U.S. has to be ready. They're getting no calls tonight.
I don't think
they're getting no calls. Like the FIBA game, they let them play anyway. You can throw people down,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
gonna be like, play.
You know what I found interesting? You could take it off the top of the rim. I didn't know that until that Serbia game.
Oh yeah,
Like I thought that would be gold, but it's not. As soon as it
nah,
hits
you
the
can
rim,
do
you can
that.
take it off the top. That's interesting.
Yeah, and you can. I mean, they literally. I've seen players. You probably seen them where you're like, goodness, that's a foul, and they like play on.
Right.
Right. They let that stuff go, and in that atmosphere, with France being the host nation and Paris being the host city of the Olympics,
Right.
the U.S. should not
And Wemby
expect
too.
they're going
And
to
up and
have to
coming.
win this game despite, not because of, despite, because everything they're going to be letting them play. So having shooters who are tall, rangy, can create off the dribble, but who can make outside shots, I think is going to be huge today.
Yeah.
Because what Steph did, they're going to be running after him all
They're gonna
game.
be ready for that. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, and I hope they let them play both ways because, again, I as talented as Wemby is, if you can rough him up, I think it'll take away a little bit from his game. So
Right.
would they allow Wemby to be a little pushed around? It'd be interesting to see. Or if you blow on him, is it going to be a foul? Because if that's the case, then it's going to be quite the long day for the
Yeah.
USA.
The
But
U.S. is going to have to win despite the officiating. That's
Yeah.
how I feel. And they need to go in with that mindset. We ain't getting no calls. They getting all the calls. We can't let it rattle us.
Right.
We gonna have to go in and take this. The good news for me is I felt that last game they didn't come in focused as they should. And I
Yeah.
think Serbia played out of their mind. But I think this game, gold medal game on the road in the host nation, host city, they gonna come out focused.
Yeah.
But I think with Steph Curry, expect them to allow France to run through screens set by Embiid and Davis. They're gonna let them run through that.
Right.
Watch. They're gonna let Steph get hit on the arm. Watch with his shot. They're gonna do that. But I think the US, I'm nervous because that crowd, that you only because, and another thing that I'm nervous about is France is tested. They've beaten Canada, they've beaten Germany.
Yeah.
These are two teams with NBA talent, and
we played Canada, right? Exhibition games, I think.
I don't remember if we played, but
I think early on we played.
But I mean, you got SGA, you got Jamal Murray has been atrocious this Olympics. I don't know what's going on with him. He's been awful. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to, but I think we have the firepower. I think where we can get them is, I think we can really, their backcourt is vulnerable.
Yeah.
But what concerns me is Serbia controlled the pace of that game. And France has controlled the pace of the games. They slow it down. They want to get it inside. They want to make it a brawl.
Right.
And we got to be, I want to see Halliburton in the game. And I want to see Tatum because I think we got to push the pace. We got to run.
Yeah, run with those guys.
And with Steph at point and all that, they're not, LeBron ain't the runner he used to be. I mean, I want people in there, push the pace, go.
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing Anthony Davis in there starting, even though I know with Embiid and the hatred of they'll probably start him.
Well, because he could have played for France, right?
Right.
He had a chance to play for France.
But I wouldn't mind seeing Anthony Davis as the center starting for the simple with Durant and LeBron. With the simple thing of we're running.
I think Bam wouldn't be a bad
or Bam.
Yeah. He could get up and down the court pretty good.
Running. Like we're before you even set up, we gonna be down there getting layups.
Yeah.
So well, we'll see. To everybody, if the game is at 3:30 Eastern time, 2:30 Central. Go USA. Hopefully we'll bring the gold home. Now we're gonna move to another topic. Everybody, again, football season is here. And with that, we have some preseason has begun, and we have some rule changes. And we want to talk a little bit about a rule change. I can't speak for UD. For me, change is overrated, but I'll have to. But as always, you got to accept it because it's inevitable. But we have these kick returning rules. And for our viewers and for me, could you just enlighten us? Because I saw the formation and I was like, what in the world? This is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So could you enlighten us with the new rules of the kickoff rules?
So I'm looking at NFL.com so I can get it, exactly right. I'm gonna read it verbatim off of here. But before that, like I said, with the formations, I personally don't like it. I mean, obviously we have to give it its chance and see what happens, but from what I understand, they want more returns to happen. And I thought, okay, then go back to how it was before, before they moved it up. Because, they were saying, kickers were kicking it through the end zone too much, too many touchbacks. So move the kickers back. Go back to how it used to be. That's what I thought would have been good. But, they got this new regime. And with that formation, personally, if I'm a returner, I don't want to do that. Because with your blockers being that close to the kickoff team, it's not like rugby. Like it's not like they're lined up right away, like tight like that. They're giving the kicking team a little bit of a running start. And I don't know. I just feel like when you try to return it, you're gonna have 6 or 7 guys ready to kill you, unblocked.
Right.
That's just how I feel. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but the rules. So it explains the alignment a little bit, but I want to get into the landing zone thing because I'm pretty sure people don't really understand. And the landing zone is going to be between the receiving team's 20-yard line and the goal line. Okay. Any kick that lands short of the landing zone, it says it'll be treated like as if the kick went out of bounds, and the receiving team will get to start. The offense will get to start at the 40.
So let me interject here. So if the receiving team catches the ball at the 22, it's the play is dead, and you get possession at the 40.
Correct.
If you kick it out of the end zone, you get possession at the 30.
If it goes out of the back of the end zone, so it's any kick that goes out the back of the end zone in the air or bounces, it's a touchback and they get the ball at the 30. Yeah.
Okay. So the penalty is out of bounds, or if it goes
short of the
20-yard line.
Yeah, like so short. So like anything like say 21, 22, if it lands there, then they get it at the 40.
One question. And then if I read it, the blockers cannot move until the ball is touched. Is that right? So it's not when so everybody has to stay stationary until the return person catches the ball or it touches the receiving team.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Which, I mean, I guess that gives the returner an edge to a certain extent, but I just still don't think that you're going to be able to block very well. I mean, it's like one, as a kickoff return, how it used to be, most of your blocks you were able to do so because you tried to mirror it where the kickoff team didn't know where the block was coming from,
Right.
right? They had him running back, and it's like, oh, I got the. You knew your guy, but in kickoff, you running straight down, you stand in your lane or what have you, and basically you could get blocked whether it's the right, left, and maybe they'll come up with some different schemes to keep that
Right.
going. But right now, it almost just seemed like again like a rugby thing where it's like, look, I'm lining up in front of this guy, you lining up in front of that guy, and once they run, try to block them. And
Right.
I just don't. That's going to be tough, and especially because that's going to take a blocking technique that a lot of guys ain't never done before or are
Right.
not used to. So the having to return the ball if it lands in the landing zone is interesting because I just can't. I think a lot of guys are going to be like, I really don't want to do that. Like it's supposed to uh, create more returns, but also, I guess what they were saying versus the old rules is supposed to prevent injury. I just don't see it though. I mean, we'll see. I don't see it because again, like I said, I don't think many of the actual kickoff team guys will be blocked very
Right.
well. And maybe what we'll see is okay, the returner returning the ball, and then at a certain point, just giving himself up.
Right.
Maybe that's what we'll see. I'm not sure, but it'd be interesting for you want to see how talented the actual kickers are, and how good they are at ball placement because if you kicking it, obviously, you want to kick it within the landing zone, but you don't want to kick it on the 15 or, between the 15 and 20 because if my guys can't move to that guy touches the ball, I mean, he might be beyond the 40 or something like that. So you'll probably see a lot of coffin corner kicks, trying to kick it into the, between the 5 and the goal line and in the corner probably, but I'm with you, and I'm not opposed to change, but this is just weird. This is definitely a weird dynamic with these kickoff rules.
And then here's the kicker because, and this is big to me, you can't do an onside kick till the fourth quarter, and and the trailing team is the only person that can do the onside kick.
Yeah,
Is that?
yeah.
Now, how many times have we seen teams try to do momentum changers? Like I think it was the Colts Saints where it was the Saints, I think, that did an onside kick to start the second half.
Mm.
And
it was like
like
what the kicker recovered it or something,
or
or
something.
something along that
You've
line.
seen people do onside kicks. Jimmy Johnson, the former Dallas head coach, talked about momentum changers, things to get the momentum back in your favor. Doing an onside kick after a score or something, just to get them off balance, just to get and then you have to announce that to the official if you're the opposing team.
Yeah,
I don't know. Seems kind of weird to me. I don't. I understand injuries and it slows down the aspect of you don't have people full-fledged just running at their highest speed, ready to just unload on somebody. So maybe
yeah,
it cuts that out. And like any new rule, we're going to have to adapt. I'm sure there's going to be some aspects of the onside kick that they're going to tweak it because there's going to be something that happens in a game. Hopefully it'll happen in preseason and not in a huge game or a playoff game where you got to say, oh, we didn't think of that. We got to tweak the rules for the next year.
right.
But I just think this is an important part of football and a skill set that
Has kept some people in the league.
is well, you just saw our first Hall of Famer
Right,
based off of his returns, Devin Hester.
right.
I mean, that's where he made his Hall of Fameness.
Yeah,
Kick returns
and I mean, I
and
think
punt returns. I mean, and you still do have the punt return,
right, but
but
they'll change that too eventually. I mean, it seems like they're on that trajectory, and it looks like for me with the entire, not just the onside, but the entire kickoff rule change is to generate more offense. I
Yeah,
mean, when you look at it, because remember, like, back then, it's like you kicked it through the end zone, you started on the 20. Then it got changed to the 25. Now it's, oh, if you don't get it in the landing zone or you do this, they get it on the 30 and or the 40.
right.
So we steady pushing up the offense. I mean, think about if an offense starts on the 40, what do you have?
What,
20
25
yards to
yards and
get,
you're in field goal
maybe,
range?
and you're in field goal range.
Yeah,
Exactly. 2 first downs and you're in field goal range. So I'm it's just to generate more scoring. And you know how I feel about that because I'm a defensive guy. I kind of hate it. But um this is what football has been on this, progression for a long time where they're trying to get the scores to be higher and people are loving this 42 to, 38 game or what have you, which I I'm old school, man. I like the freaking 7-0 games. Oh man, this is boring. Like, no, this is football.
right.
This is defense.
I
But
love those Raven Steelers games when you had James Harrison and Ray Lewis and
right,
you know, I loved all those good hitting, but that's not what people want to see. I was talking
right.
to my cousin, shout out to Rob Watson, and he brought up an interesting point of, are we going to see a different type of returner, like a bigger returner?
Well, I think
And I
so.
think I had to give him props, like, like the big, fast, like maybe, for instance, a Vernon Davis type, a tight end size, but can run fast.
Yeah,
Because you're going to have to shed some tackles and have open field speed, I think, in these new rules,
right.
because your creases and your spacing, I think, it's going to start off
Limited.
very compact and then it's going to open up really fast. Because
Right.
I feel if you get past that first line, I mean,
If you make
or,
a couple people miss, I mean, one or two, then you should see a
or
lot of daylight.
or do you have people, and I am interested to see what type of formations based on that do the kicking team do you send, you know several up and have two just back just in case along with the
Right,
kicker,
right.
or do you send everybody? Because if you send everybody, you get past that first line, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
So what kind of formations? So that might add, maybe that might add skill to the, maybe it might bring notoriety to the special teams coach.
maybe.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's gonna be interesting,
you
and I
know,
know they got a plan for it. So we, as fans, we just gotta, we gotta adapt to it because it we're seeing it in preseason. It ain't going nowhere. And then another
right.
thing, and we don't have to touch on this, but how do you feel about and I don't know why I can't think of the exact term, but we had a guy in Pittsburgh was the first player to actually do it on the field with the helmet guardians. They're allowed to wear it in game. So
Yeah,
what they're doing is putting like a sleeve with the logo on it over it, and you really couldn't tell unless you really look closely because it just looked like his helmet is just a lot bigger than everybody else's. But what do you? Because again, I don't like that either. I ain't even lie, dude. They out there like bobbleheads. I mean, dude, the game is the game, and somebody brought this up. Um, in rugby, there aren't many concussions that happen, if any, and they don't wear head protection.
no,
So the only thing I can think of why that happens is they know to protect their head. They're
right.
not leading with their head. They're not, striking with their head. You know what I mean? So I think it's almost like having the head protection in the gear, and the more and more stuff you put on there, just makes players want to lead with their head even
Right.
more. Which
Well,
is causing the concussion. So, what do
yeah.
you think?
Well, we'll spend a little time on this, but that's a great point. Like I said, I don't like change, so I'm guilty. I think the helmets look terrible, but I can't knock people for if they make the game safer. But here's the truth, man. And I'm sure this quote will be brought back against me, but I'll just say it. Football is what it is. And you can try to legislate all of the stuff out. Football is a violent sport. It is a physical, violent sport.
Yeah.
That's what we pay to see. It is a sport of contrast. We pay to see the one-handed catches, the speed, the shiftiness, but we also pay to see the receiver running across the middle and getting blasted. We also pay
But
to
see
see
that's fans like myself and you, because
right,
now that you say that, I'm starting to you see a lot more people like when it used to be like, oh, like
right,
dang, where now people like he ain't have to do that.
right,
You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, it's the name of the game, and these guys know what they sign up for.
right.
So it's whatever the NFL is doing is actually working. Because, like I said, you starting to see more fans like, man, he shouldn't have hit him like that. He ain't have to like what?
Look, man, and we're going to get into this in our next segment. One of the people, the characters that we talk about, uh, his career with this team ended because of a hit where the defensive end hit him from the blind side. It was a legit hit. And then as they were falling, he fell on him.
Yeah,
Like, that's what we pay to see. Like, or what we used to pay to see.
yeah.
You know, we talked about the great Matthew Stafford. And I'll say it. How many times have we seen Matthew Stafford throw to the great Calvin Johnson high and up, where Calvin Johnson's body is a bullseye for the safety to just destroy?
Dude, I, I
And,
I think of it like a video game. When he raises those arms, the target just gets green.
right.
You light
Might
him
as
up,
well,
right?
what does he say? Might as well be a bullseye.
Exactly.
I mean, football is a violent sport. And you can legislate all you want, but I don't think that's ever going to change unless you take off the pads and unless you put flags on their waist.
Yeah, which I like I said, we might get flack for this, but I personally think that's where it's going. I've said it to you and a couple other folks. 20 years from now, what we know as football, I just
Oh,
don't think, or it probably should be named something else because it's not going to be a sport, man.
no.
It's just
I
violent.
mean, it, it I don't know what the answer is. I mean, but anyway, we're just going to have to see with the new kickoff rule. We're going to have to see with these helmets. To answer your question, looks kind of weird to me, but I can't knock people for wanting to be safe in football. So that's how I feel. So people, now it is that time of year. Football has begun. We're in preseason. And with that, I want to bring up a side note, just some fun facts about the NFL. The NFL's total revenue last year was $18 billion. To put that in perspective with the other American sports, second was Major League Baseball at like 11.4 million. Third was NBA with 10.5 or 10.6 billion. I'm sorry. 11.4 billion was the MLB. NBA 10.6 billion. And the NHL is at about 6.5 billion. So what's fascinating about that is when you look at those three sports behind the NFL in revenue, they're all global in some part. Hockey's big in Europe.
Yep.
Hockey's big in Canada. Basketball is big on pretty much all the continents outside of Antarctica. Baseball is huge in South America, in Asia, in and in Canada, we have teams in Canada.
Mm.
Football, American football, is only big here. Yet, when you go to the NFL or Forbes highest valued franchises, it's something like 4 out of the top 10 are NFL franchises. Like the Cowboys were one. And which brings me to the man I like to refer to as the dictator, Roger Goodell. I looked up his salary, and this man just signed it's estimated 3-year, $200 million contract. Do you know what his salary was in 2022? This man got paid $63.9 million.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
63.9.
I could do
Joe
something.
Burrow's the highest paid quarterback. He gets 55.
Well, yes.
Okay, you can add Jordan.
The Green Bay guy, the Green Bay guy is the highest paid. But anyway, still, it ain't what Roger Goodell making.
So it got me thinking, D. If that's what Goodell's making, and that's, and he is placed there by the owners, what are they making? Because if he's making $64 million a year, they gotta be pushing a ton more.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
The question I have for you is, what do you think about his salary, and is he worth it?
Well, I didn't know that was his salary, so that's news. I know it was news to me when you told me a couple of days ago. He's worth it in a sense of what you just explained. Football being significantly larger in revenue than the other 3 sports, yet it's only really relevant in America. I know we have it in Europe, we have it in Canada, but its relevancy lies here for sure.
Yeah.
As far as the professional league. And I would love to dive more into the numbers with that in a sense of why, but again, like, because of that giant gap and this dude is at the helm, one can argue like he's steady pushing it forward. He's steady getting these TV deals, he's steady getting these streaming deals that ain't doing nothing but creating more and more revenue. So he is worth it.
Yeah.
Now I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, what about the players? And I get that too, because, and I know we're going to do a whole nother segment about, the QBs and their salaries and how it's increasing at a rapid rate and stuff like that. But another thing we have to remember when it comes to the players is the amount of players. Yep. You're talking, 32 teams times, 52, player roster plus your practice squad or what have you. So when we do that segment, I'll dive a little bit more into the numbers and how that comes out. But yeah, man, I mean, obviously he's done a great job, outstanding job with progressing the game. And even to the point where we're starting to see more and more games be played overseas.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because that's exactly how the NBA became a global, thing. And that's exactly, so I don't know if it'll ever be like basketball in a sense of, I think those other countries are like, you ain't playing that. It's just too violent. But one thing that'll change it is a revenue stream. If something can make money, people will do it.
Right.
So I think that's where Goodell has to kind of bridge the gap with football becoming more relevant overseas, is getting them to believe that it's a lot more safer than what it looks like,
Agreed. Roger Goodell. I am not a huge fan to a lot of the stuff that he's done. Specifically, some of the rules. I thought the NFL handled the situation with Ray Rice poorly. And there are some other things. But in terms of revenue, he's worth every penny. I mean, I did some research. The year before he became commissioner, the last franchise that was sold was, I think, the Minnesota Vikings in 2006 for $600 million. The Commanders just sold for $6.5 billion. I mean, the revenue that these players are that the league makes is insane. I mean, and the way they are bullying the other leagues.
Right.
What was Christmas Day? Christmas Day, we used to be all about the NBA. Yep. Oh, but now the NFL's coming in. Oh, well, we're going to have a Christmas game.
Yep.
And there's nothing the NBA can do about it. I mean,
because at the end of the day, what are you watching?
Right. I mean,
I'm gonna watch the football game.
The NFL draft happens when the NBA playoffs are on, and consistently, the NFL draft, it's not even close, has higher ratings than the NBA playoffs. We're not even talking about games. We're talking about what teams are building for the next season.
Yep.
And then we have the playoffs of a sport which is beloved, which is globalized, and we will watch the NFL draft more than I mean, the way he wields his power and the NFL, they're just bullying franchises.
Right.
You just hope that, please don't come on our day. Come on, guys. No. Hey, buddy. You know, this
shout out to my guy.
This is Carter.
Oh, I'm about to say, who's it? I can't see his face. Which one is that?
Me. So he's worth every penny, my guy. But I'm in awe of what the NFL has been doing. Hey, buddy, hold on for a minute, D. Let me do this. Give me about 20 minutes, okay? Okay. Thank you, buddy. So shout out to Roger Goodell. Shout out to the NFL, NBA, Adam Silver, MLB. Y'all need to get your revenue up. I mean, but shout out to the players' unions of the NBA and specifically the MLB, who I think consistently has the strongest union for getting the best deal for the players. This is where the NFL has to get better. The NFL Players Association. Because the NBA and the MLB and the NHL, their players, to me, get better deals.
Right.
With that being said, we're going to stay on football. And as the season starts, we start talking about the GOAT. And in the NFL, specifically, the main position is the quarterback position. Demetrius, on Bleacher Report, we had you put out a list of, and we're going to keep it to this list of top 10 quarterbacks. So I'll let you take the lead.
Let me pull that up here. And you said the source was Bleacher Report.
Was it, or was it, what was it? Was it Bleacher Report?
I could never, I just screenshot it and it didn't have the source on there. But I'm going to pull up a screenshot and put it up.
D, we're going to edit this. Let me pause this for 1 second. Then I'm going to get on. Okay. Hold on for a minute. Okay.
All right. So I found the source. It's FanDuel.
Okay, FanDuel. My
FanDuel's the
fault.
source. Uh, hopefully, our fans will be able to see it. But this is the list that FanDuel has, and I know the words are kind of coming up a little blurry, but they have Brady at 1, Mahomes 2, Peyton Manning at 3, Montana 4, Aaron Rodgers at 5, Johnny Unitas 6, Drew Brees 7, Dan Marino 8, Brett Favre at 9, and John Elway rounding it out at 10. And I'm just gonna pass it back to you to get your thoughts first on maybe who shouldn't be in that top 10, and then what do you feel about that order?
Uh, well, of the list, I'm not mad offhand, right off the dome, of anybody on the list. I think we can't say on one hand we give the quarterback credit for winning, but then when they lose, it was somebody else's fault. So there are some names that we could put on there due to winning that aren't on there, like a
Yeah,
Terry Bradshaw. We
right.
will say the steel curtain, but the bottom line is you got to score points to win.
Yeah,
You know,
got to score more than the other team.
he's 4-0 in Super Bowls. I think the list is kind of frustrating. I don't like it. I love the cup of Joe. I don't have it, and I'm salty. Oh gosh.
Well, man, I was in needing it. You know,
Oh yeah,
this
you
is
got a long night
morning.
tonight.
This is our morning episode, guys.
Right,
So
right,
you know,
right. But I think there definitely need to be some switching because I think there are some people that are placed too high, and there are some people that are placed too low. One of the
okay,
problems I have with a lot of the individual statistics is we're putting, I think, the balance between individual greatness and team greatness and how they commingle is a little weighted towards individual greatness. And I feel that it's, I think team great, it has to be 50-50 or team greatness trumps that.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at this and also I think talent and what you had to go through to get to where you got plays a big level. The path you went through, for instance, that's one of the reasons I think, and this is another time when NBA starts, Isaiah Thomas is rated lowly in those 75 and in the top 75 and how he's rated from a legacy standpoint.
Mhm.
We look at just 2 titles, but what he had to go through to and what those Pistons teams had to go through to get to those 2 titles.
Right.
I don't think there's been a tougher road. So, but that's another time, be it here nor there. So do you want my list? Do you want how I reorder this, or do you want to?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's where we have Tom Brady 1. I agree. The GOAT. Let's just put this in perspective with Tom Brady. He played 21 years or 20 years.
20. I thought it was 21 seasons. Pretty sure it's 21.
He played 21 or 22 years. He went to the Super Bowl 10 times. That means basically you want to round and get it specifically, but every other year he went to a Super Bowl.
Pretty much half his career, right?
Right. Number 2, Joe Montana. 4-0 in Super Bowls. I think 127 passer rating. I don't think they didn't have QBR at that point. 11 touchdowns, no interceptions.
That's huge.
And let's put this in perspective. He played in an era where defenses could grab receivers, where you could kill the quarterback. Now, so his haters are going to say, but he had Jerry Rice. He had Bill Walsh. Well, Brady had Bill Belichick,
And Rob Gronkowski.
right. And Rob
Yeah.
Gronkowski and Randy Moss. So
Poor-
we're
yeah,
not
poor.
going to, yes, most of these quarterbacks had great skill players that they could throw to. My third one, and this is where I know people are going to jump on me. John Elway.
I like it.
Nobody on this list, in my humble opinion, did more with less. He went to 5 Super Bowls. He was 2-5. But when they finally gave him a running game, he showed what he could do. And he had good, not great receivers, even though you could argue Rod Smith could potentially say great receiver. When you look, Rod Smith is one of the underrated. When you look at his stats, if we look at Rod Smith's stats, you're like, oh, well, Easy Ed McCaffrey, Christian's dad, he was a good receiver. And then you had Terrell Davis and Shannon Sharp. But he had those at the end of his career. When he got to those first 3 Super Bowls, Vance Johnson, Ricky Nattiel, Clarence Kay, I think Steve Sewell, Sammy Winder, you had good players, solid players. You didn't have great skill players, So then that brings me to 3. Then 4, I put Mahomes. And for all you Mahomes people, the man is not even 30 yet, and I have him 4. So stop it. Yes, you have 3 suits. I mean, the man is on pace to becoming the GOAT, but I'm not ready to put him 2 right now when Joe Montana has more Super Bowls, when you've had Tyreek Hill, you've had Andy Reid. Oh, by the way, John Elway, I guess Dan Reeves was a good coach, but other than that, Mike Shanahan was a good offensive mind. Some will say great. Kyle's daddy, but I don't think he had the otherworldly coaching talent of an Andy Reid or a Bill Belichick or a Bill Walsh. So that's another reason why I have Elway 3rd. So I have Mahomes 4th. I think 3-1 in Super Bowls. Never gone to less than an AFC championship game. Then I'm going to put Peyton 5th. But then I go back and forth between 2 Colts, Peyton and Johnny Unitas. I think we got to give Johnny Unitas his flowers. The modernized passing game, you could argue started with him. First quarterback to throw over 40,000 yards, 290 touchdowns. Probably a gunslinger, had about 250 interceptions. So, but you could make the argument, and I don't feel comfortable because I wasn't I haven't watched that era of football, but you could make the argument that he was one of the first. That was one of the first offenses where you say, if you throw the ball, this is what you can do when you have a quarterback that can throw the ball. Raymond Berry was a Hall of Fame receiver, also a pretty solid NFL head coach. That was, for you Bears fans, that was who was coaching the Patriots in '85 when the Bears killed them. So pretty solid head coach there too. So I'll give the edge to Unitas then. Then I'm going to put Peyton Manning. Then I'm going to put Peyton at 6. I'm going to put Brett at 7. I think Brett Favre was a gunslinger. He made a bunch of bad throws, but man, he made some great throws. He made some really good throws, and his teams won. And then when you look at the Packers' rise coincided with his rise. Buddy, I'm on. Come on, just give me a second, okay? The Packers' rise coincided with him. You know, they became great with Brett Favre, and you got to give him credit. Where then I'm gonna put I'll put Drew at 8. At first I said I was gonna put Drew at 10, but then I looked at the numbers. Drew Brees had some great seasons. And that Saints offense with him and Peyton, that Peyton Brees connection, with the receivers he had. And I'll say this about Drew: you always felt like receivers were great because of Drew. You never felt like Drew was great because of those receivers.
Yes, agreed.
And I give him credit with that. I mean, you look at Jimmy Graham. When he left New Orleans, he was not the same player. When Jimmy Graham was with Drew Brees, we were like, okay, is it Jimmy Graham or Rob Gronkowski? Which one is the better tight end? Please don't do that, son. So I got him at 8. I'm going to put Rodgers at 9. I know people will say that's too low. Look, Rodgers is probably the second most talented quarterback behind Patrick Mahomes that I've seen. That's won a Super Bowl. I think Cam is probably up there in terms of talent, buddy. Come on. Sorry, got kids here. But I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Rodgers, as dynamic as he's been, he is underperformed in the playoffs. Rodgers, Green Bay to me has had multiple seasons where they were the best team. And they didn't get it done. And Rodgers, every time there was an excuse. Well, if we got home field, you get home field, you lose to the 49ers and you lose to Tampa. Well, if we had a better defense, they get you the defense. Well, if we had more running, one thing about him and Brett were both prima donnas, but Brett did make a lot of excuses. I always felt like Rodgers, and I mean, you're a little biased as a Bears fan, but am I off on that?
No, I'm with you. I mean, I don't know if I've told our fans, my feelings. I think I did when we were talking with our Packer fan, but again, like you said, Rodgers always has an excuse, and more so, like, it's never his fault. When they lose, all of a sudden, but when they're winning, it's always him. Right. And I have a big problem with that because you're a quarterback and you are the leader. The leader. You, unfortunately, in football, the leader role goes to the quarterback.
Yes.
Nobody else looks at any other position to be the leader of the team. And I just felt like when things didn't go, the Packers' way, they shouldn't have took the football out of my hands. The play caller shouldn't have been there. Yeah, like, dude, what's with all the excuses? And but when you win, I'm the greatest. No, it just doesn't work like that for me.
Right.
So I have a big feelings against Rodgers for that.
And I felt like, and then here's the tale. When you had a chance, and this is a tale of two quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and John Elway. You're playing for a chance to win the Super Bowl, and that scramble play. I'll never forget that scramble play with Green Bay at Tampa, where you had a lane to gun it.
Yeah.
And you stopped and tried to throw it into double coverage.
Yep.
And let's contrast that with John Elway, who had the fullback wide open, but he said, I'm not even going to risk it to chance. And he takes on 2 Green Bay Packers somersaults in the end zone for a touchdown, because this was the Super Bowl.
All right.
That was the NFC Championship game, a time where you're down in the fourth quarter to tie the game up to go to the Super Bowl. And you didn't put it all on the line.
And then to make matters worse, I want to say it might have been that same series, but I know it was that same game. If people go back and watch those plays, he forced it to Devontae Adams 3 times in a row.
Right.
When you had Adam Lazard wide open, one of those plays, it might have been Tanyan or whoever their tight end was on another play, wide open, and it's like you zeroed in on this. And I love Devontae Adams. To me, I still have a big problem not putting him at the best receiver in the league. When people, always the consensus, JJ, whatever, but we can talk about that another time. I still think it's Devontae, but you're Aaron Rodgers, dude. Like, you ain't that quarterback that's supposed to just solo focus in on one guy. And it's like, if we gonna win this, is it? Because that's what lost you the game. I mean, you can go back and watch these plays clear as day, and you had the guy running the slant, the deep end. They're wide open. I don't care if it's your second and third read, and that's why I have a problem with people saying, "Oh, he's a one read quarterback." Well, some of your GOATs are one read quarterbacks.
Thank you.
I mean, some of your GOATs, like, oh, my guy ain't, nope, I don't trust nobody else, or I'm not comfortable. I don't know what it is. And again, Aaron Rodgers for that particular game did not take accountability. And I believe that was the one where he threw the coaching staff under the bus for not going for it on 4th down or something like that.
Right.
So, dude, Aaron just
always as gifted as he is and can do. I mean, I still marvel at that throw, that playoff game against Dallas, where he throws to the. I'm like, so he deserves to. He's a top 10 quarterback, but 5 or what is he?
They had him at
5 is too. Is too
5.
high. And then lastly, and the only reason this player is 10 is because he didn't win a Super Bowl. Dan Marino. That what I want to look up the 83. Dan Marino's 83 season numbers. Yeah, it was 48, like 48 touchdowns, like almost 5,000 yards, in an era where where teams are, it's mostly a running league, and DBs can maul the receivers at the line of scrimmage, and you're putting up numbers like that. I mean, that is insane. And I want to put him higher, but I can't put him above those other players in the sense that he won the chip. Like, they won the chip. Dan Marino was just amazing. Just unbelievable. And I can't find I want to make sure, because I want to say he had 4,800 yards.
This the 84 season, right?
83 or 84. 83. 83 season.
83. No, I think you're talking about the 84. Yeah, 5,084 yards.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right.
Touchdowns.
84, he had 5,000 yards, 48 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. In 1984.
And they went 14-2. Right.
Losing to that's another thing about Joe Montana. He beat in the Super Bowl head-to-head both John Elway and Dan Marino.
Yeah.
I mean, that season to me is still the greatest season from a quarterback because of when he did it and what the rules were. I know since then, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady have gone on to throw more touchdowns and things like that. But the rules of what you could do to a quarterback and to a receiver were so different. That is my top 10. Go ahead for yours. I spent a lot of time on mine.
No, the crazy thing about it is ours is basically identical, but I just and this could be my bias, but I think I just have to flip Marino and Rodgers. And I know Rodgers has the Super Bowl, but
Yeah,
again, as far as the talent, they are super similar to me. In
right.
the sense of they can throw for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, keep the intercept, the turnovers down and stuff like that. And this could be also that I haven't done much research on if Marino was a complainer or what I mean, stuff like. But then I look at NFC North has not been a strong division until recently, which is
Right.
no longer in. Primarily for Rodgers' entire time he was there. The Lions was the
Yeah.
lowest of the low. The Bears, we had a couple decent seasons. We made a Super Bowl during it, but we were beyond we were definitely bottom half of the pack. And the Vikings, yeah, they had those few seasons when they got hurt, but they pretty much were bottom half of the pack. So the division just wasn't good. And that's 6 games that you get. Now I haven't went and looked back at how the division was when Marino was playing or what have you. That's something I would have to look at. I don't know if it was weak, but even though Tom Brady, like you say, consensus, I don't question that. But when one can talk about the lack of talent or the lack of good teams in the division.
That's true. And you could do that with the Patriots.
Yeah, with the Patriots, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it just wasn't good.
No.
So their trajectory of getting to the playoffs, one, and being a top seed was not easy. Nothing's easy, but it was a lot lesser, than other teams.
Right.
And that's why, I was because I didn't think you were gonna put Breeze higher than Rodgers, but I was gonna do that too because the Falcons had some years there where they were, they had some relevancy. The Falcons Saints game has always been tough.
Right.
Now the Panthers, I know they weren't but then it's like.
But he played during Cam's time
he played during Cam's time
when they went to the Super Bowl.
Right, and then I think what is the other team? Is it Tampa Bay? I think
Tampa Bay and the Falcons in 2000.
Right, and that's it in the Falcons.
Yeah.
So the NFC South is just a much stronger division than the NFC North for sure. And like I say, Breeze, 6-foot quarterback. I mean that dude could just throw the football, man. He was great. So I think our lists actually are pretty much identical with the exception of the 8 and 9. And then I just have to do more research on Unitas. I want to put Manning above Unitas because I'm a lot more familiar with Manning. But I think something that you said that jumps off the page to me is Unitas, could possibly be, the start of what quarterbacks are, and that's huge. And then like you said, if you're throwing for that, if you're throwing for, think about this. We are in a pass happy league. And we've seen a quarterback every other year, maybe, or every third year, whatever, get 5,000 yards.
Yep.
You're talking about doing this in the 1980s and 90s. That's impressive.
Right.
Like
you're talking about the 70s. You're talking about the 50s.
Right. Well, Unitas, like that's extremely impressive. Like that says, man, could you imagine if these guys got 50 passing attempts like these guys do today? Yep. I'm not opposed, like as you said, as to having Mahomes at 4. I know, people are going to be like, well, but again, Mahomes, he got a lot going for him. The Tyreeks, the Travis Kelce, The
Andy
Andy
Reid.
Reid, that's number one, the Andy Reid. So, and he is a very dynamic quarterback. But, and one can argue this with Brady, maybe in a couple of those Super Bowls too. This past season, Mahomes looked real human. And it could be because, and don't get me wrong, like his receivers, they just weren't good.
Right.
He put it on the money, they dropped the ball.
Right.
So it could be because his main guy in Travis was banged up. But if we're gonna do that to Mahomes, we got to do it to Brady because, like I said, he had Rob Gronkowski,
Right.
and he had those Patriots defenses. So
Right.
I, and this is again, I know we mentioned this a couple times, but another segment because I've been thinking about this whole just GOAT conversation in different sports in general. And it's extremely hard because you want to say, well, they have to win championships. And I do think they have to have won it at least a time or two. But
Right.
when you're talking about winning championships, that's a team thing.
Yeah.
And it's a team sport. Basketball, football, those are all team sports. So ain't nobody winning the championship by themselves. Yeah, they could be the captain or the leader or whatever, but it still takes for the rest of your team to follow suit or do their part. And then you have people that when we talk about the GOAT conversation, we only want to mention an individual. And I'm starting to have real like reservations and issues with that because it's like, well, we're talking about this individual as being the GOAT,
Right.
but then we're putting like what his team did to up his status, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
So that's like again, man, I know we can go on and on about that. We probably need a couple different segments for
Right.
that.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, man. So like I said, Brady with what does he got? 7?
7-3.
7? Yeah. So I mean that's just that's insane.
I mean,
But
that's
you
yeah.
know, it's just one of them things of he also was the guy that had a lot going for him. But Brady also has, when you needed to score and you need a quarterback that's going to get you with whether they need a touchdown or a field goal, you need to get in scoring range and not turn the ball
Right.
over. I don't know if there's anybody better than Tom. So
I'd say the only person better, Joe, because Joe, Joe, I think we've forgotten about Joe in a way that maybe Joe Montana, this was maybe before you, but in the 80s, I remember this game with the Philadelphia Eagles in the Vet Stadium. This is Buddy Ryan's defense. This is Reggie White. And we are killing them. I mean, we are beating the mess out of Joe Montana. Fourth quarter comes, we take the brakes off just a little bit. They score like 21 points in the last quarter and beat us. We can talk about the 89 championship game where they went to the Super Bowl. They did that at Soldier Field. It was 0 degrees. Everybody was like, at Soldier Field, everybody was like, oh, Joe Montana can't throw in this weather. They spanked. It was like 28-3. I mean, and I'm not saying it was just Joe, but that's the greatness of these quarterbacks. I think Mahomes is on his way. We're acting like him. He's only been in the league, 7 years?
I think so.
We're acting like he's been in the league 50 years and we're not giving him his dap. Right. We're putting him at 4.
Right. And I mean, but the names that
we're putting him over Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, Terry Bradshaw, Kurt Warner, Steve Young. I mean, so KC fans, and he's still going up.
Yeah.
So be proud. He's at 4 already. That's what we saying. He's at 4.
Right.
4.
even though we're still going to catch flack. It just
And people, you have it too low. No, we don't. The defense won him that Super Bowl last year. He was efficient. Let's just be clear. He got some good bounces the year before that. And a great call by the refs. I'm sorry, I'm not over it. I don't care.
or last year too, because that holding against Bosa was egregious.
Right.
Whatever.
But champions don't apologize. They were the
Exactly.
best team. He's 3-1 in Super Bowls. Another reason I can't put him above Brady right now, and probably for a while, head-to-head matchups. Twice, one in a championship game, one in a Super Bowl. Head-to-head matchups.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, you 0-2 against Brady. I'm just saying.
And that was supposed to be the pass the torch moment.
And one was a Super Bowl. I'm just saying. Let's talk about it. So with that being said, we're going to conclude our show. We hope you enjoy it. We are going to continue talking about football. We got college coming around. We've got college right at 3 weeks away. NFL is 4 weeks away. I think it's going to be a great season. I think it's going to be a interesting season. I'm interested, and we're going to talk about this later on. I think the Bills are going to be a team because you're already hearing. Did you see that first take where they were going about? Somebody was saying, I think one person was saying, without Steven Diggs, Josh Allen is just a regular quarterback, and what Kimberly, what's her name? She was like, don't do that, and they started going at it.
I didn't see that.
I'm going to be watching. We had a guest about the Bills. I'm going to be watching because I think you brought up a good point. Forget about just Stephon Diggs. They've lost a ton on the defensive end.
Yep.
And I think you brought up some great points on that. Also, as basketball starts coming around, I know we're in the Olympics, but as basketball coming out, we're going to have probably a 2-part special on before the season even begins on the GOAT. Who is it? We will have guest star. We were going to have some guests on here. So be ready to take some time out of your schedule because we're going in on that topic too. But this is another edition of Fanatically Biased. Everybody have a great weekend. Go USA. Enjoy your day. Happy birthday to Mama Watson. Please give her a shout out from Fanatically Biased.
Big 6-0. Big 6-0.
60. Mama Watson is 60. Happy birthday. And shout out to Casey. We'll see you on the next go around. All right.